Part 153. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1521. Chapter 1521 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 47. Xiaojin's expression changed, feeling that something was wrong. She immediately put on a well-behaved look and looked at Yu Lingfeng, running over like a dog and rubbing her shoulders and legs. "Are you tired from work today?" Yu Lingfeng's heart trembled, thinking that Xiaojin has learned how to obey and disobey at such a young age. This child is really incredible. Yu Lingfeng pulled Xiaojin to him and said seriously, "Xiaojin, Daddy wants to talk to you today." Xiaojin moved the small bench next to him and looked at Yu Lingfeng like a student who was paying attention to the lecture. "Daddy, let's talk." Xiaojin listens. Xiaojin also nodded, indicating that she would listen carefully. Xiaojin said before that she likes my sister, right? Does Xiaojin think she is a smart child? Xiaojin said without thinking, yes. Then Xiaojin only likes to play with smart children. Xiaojin did not deny this, and nodded extremely firmly. What if the little sister born to mom and dad is not as smart as Xiaojin? Does Xiaojin not like her sister anymore? Xiaojin thought about it seriously. Xiaojin will not dislike her sister. Even if her sister is a fool, Xiaojin will like her. Well, Xiaojin is very well behaved. Yu Lingfeng reached out and touched Xiaojin's little head, and then said, "If my sister is like Sister Dian, a child who only knows how to eat and sleep, and also loves to cry and be clingy, will Xiaojin also like it?" Xiaojin was silent for a moment, then lowered her head and said in a low voice, "I know, Daddy. Did Mommy tell you about little sister today?" That's why Yu Lingfeng tried his best to reason with him. After going around for a long time, he finally got around to Dian. "Well, Xiaojin, do you think you did something wrong?" Xiaojin nodded. Xiaojin shouldn't dislike Sister Dian and scare her. Then what should Xiaojin do? "I've already apologized." Xiaojin raised her head and looked at Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng shook his head. "It's not just an apology. Sister Dian likes you very much. You should be friends with her, treat her like your own sister, protect her and take care of her." "But I don't like playing with children." "You feel that you have no common language when playing with them, and you think they are childish, don't you?" Xiaojin nodded. "But Xiaojin, do you know? No one is perfect. Just like Xiaojin, you are so smart. You can do many things, and sometimes you are even better than adults, but you can't enjoy the happiness of your sisters. Sometimes you will find another sky when you enter their world. Isn't their world just about eating, sleeping, and watching cartoons?" Xiaojin thought for a while, and then said, "I also like to watch cartoons. I don't think there is any difference." "Then, Xiaojin, why don't you give it a try and spend a day with Sister Dian to see if you get any different results?" When Xiaojin heard Yu Lingfeng's suggestion, she looked helpless. "Daddy, does it have to be like this?" Yu Lingfeng nodded, leaving no doubt. "I will take over Dian tomorrow, and you will take care of Dian for a day, and then you can tell me your thoughts and feelings at night, okay?" Xiaojin nodded, "Okay. And Xiaojin, you need to know that if you have your own sister in the future, she will be even more childish than your current sister Dian. Well, let me try." End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1522. Chapter 1522 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 48. The next day, after Mu Niankai heard what Yu Lingfeng said and sent Dian over, Dian burst into tears when she saw Xiaojin. Xiaojin's face was covered with black lines. She walked over and wiped Dian's tears and whispered, "Stop crying." As a result, Dian cried even harder. Xiaojin's face turned darker. Mu Niankai comforted Dian Dian with a troubled expression, then looked up at Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng. Is this really okay? She is a bit square. Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying gave Mu Niankai a look of approval, and Mu Niankai shook her head helplessly. Okay, give it a try. If it doesn't work, just call me. Alright, I'm still here. Xia Ying said, patting Mu Niankai's shoulder. Mu Niankai nodded and left reluctantly. I only know that when I left, my little cry still echoed through the sky. Dian Dian was also tired of crying. Xiaojin asked Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying for help. What should I do? She cries when she sees me now. Stay like this for a whole day? Do you still have to cry all day long? Xia Ying comforted Dian Dian. Don't cry, Dian Dian. Brother Xiaojin is here to play with you and play games with you. Twitching in Xia Ying's arms, not daring to look at Xiaojin at all. But Brother Xiaojin is so fierce, and Brother Xiaojin doesn't like Dian Dian. It is probably because Xiaojin's black face and threats throughout the whole process yesterday left a shadow on Dian Dian's young mind. No, Brother Xiaojin likes a little bit. Xiaojin, come here. Xia Ying waved to Xiaojin, and Xiaojin pouted and walked towards Xia Ying and Dian Dian. Dian Dian held Xia Ying tighter, as if she was afraid that Xiaojin would open her mouth and eat her. Xiaojin, tell your sister that you don't hate her, you like her very much. Xiaojin looked at the little tearful person, shook her head helplessly, reached out and touched her head, and then suddenly felt that Dot's hair was unusually soft. Xiaojin felt as if she had discovered a new world, and she touched her head for a while. Dandian's hair is so soft and comfortable, like a doll. Xia Ying. I want you to comfort my sister. No it? Xiaojin stuck out her tongue, and then said to Dian Dian, I'm sorry, Dian Dian. I was just teasing you yesterday. I don't hate you, I like you very much. I gave up all my schedule today and prepared to be with you just for a day's fun. Dian Dian blinked her wet eyes and looked at Xiaojin. Really? I lied to you that you are a puppy. The hook. Dian Dian's mood improved a little, her crying stopped, and she stretched out her fleshy little fingers towards Xiaojin. Although Xiaojin felt childish in her heart, she still did it. It has been hung on a hook for 100 years, and it is not allowed to change. Okay, now that you have hooked up, can you go and play with Brother Xiaojin? Xia Ying said, putting down Dian Dian, and Dian Dian tentatively approached Xiaojin, her little face tightened, as if she was performing some dangerous work. Seeing the cowardly look on Dian Dian's face, Xiaojin didn't know that it would only take him a year and a month to come to her, so he simply took a step forward and stretched out his hand to pull Dian Dian to her side. Dian Dian was startled and looked at Xiaojin with big eyes. Xiaojin breathed out, what do you want to play with? Barbie dolls? Or watch cartoons? Barbie doll. Dian Dian answered cautiously, Brother Xiaojin, do you want to play with Barbie dolls with me? Xiaojin nodded. Playing with Barbie dolls for the first time in my life. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1523. Chapter 1523 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 49. Xia Ying watched suspiciously as Xiaojin held Dian Dian's hand, pulling her to the round carpet aside to play with Barbie dolls. Xia Ying tugged on Yu Lingfeng's sleeve and asked him, is the method you mentioned feasible? Can Xiaojin really play with Dian Dian for a day? Xia Ying was very skeptical. Yu Lingfeng smiled and touched the back of Xia Ying's head to comfort her. Okay. Don't worry. Just go and write your new song with peace of mind. Leave these two children to me. Xia Ying was pushed to the singing room by Yu Lingfeng. Although she was full of doubts, Xia Ying didn't say anything. Forget it, it was rare for her to have a quiet day, so it would be better not to think about it and think about her new song. Xia Ying sits in front of the piano with notebooks on it, recording her inspirations from time to time. Xia Ying closed the door, abandoned all distracting thoughts, and began to concentrate on her songwriter book. On Zihu's side, Zihu was currently in his comic shop. He found a quiet private room and sat reading comics. There were potato chips and Coke beside him. He was eating and drinking while reading comics. It was so happy. After finishing reading a comic, Zihu was about to buy a new one, so he went to the bookshelf and faintly heard two girls dressed as students discussing something in a low voice. Really or not, but didn't Jianyins just get together with his boyfriend? Did he break up so soon? I just admitted it some time ago. I don't know how long we have been together. Besides, I think his boyfriend is very ordinary. Someone online said he was a civil servant. His appearance and temperament are not the same for ordinary people. It's pretty good, but I'm not worthy of Jianyins. I don't know how I met Jianyins. I'm really envious. No matter how ordinary he is Jianyin's first public boyfriend. If Jianyins really breaks up with him, he will be very hurt. Looking at the news pictures, Jianyins is obviously drunk. It's so sad. That is to say, I don't know which lifetime Xiu Funeng fell in love with Jianyins, but he actually proposed breaking up, which made Jianyins so sad. Fortunately, the identity information has not been disclosed, otherwise Jianyin's fans online would have been just make a fuss. However, it is also possible that we had a quarrel and then reconciled. But isn't it said on the internet that Jianyins has pushed a lot of schedules recently? How could Jianyins, such a dedicated person, let his feelings affect his work? If we didn't really break up, I really don't believe it. My mom, it would be great if Jianyins wasn't gay, I would never let him get hurt. Since you're here less often, people will take notice of you, right? Oh, I'm just complaining about my Qianbeo's encounter with a scumbag. 11 Ju leaned against the wall and silently listened to the discussion of the girls. He hasn't watched the news for a long time. It's because of Jianyin's popularity that almost as soon as he opens the web page, he will see Jianyin's related reports. So because of this, 11 Ju hasn't watched the news for a long time, and naturally he doesn't know. These things are happening outside now. He did not expect that he would learn about Jianyins again in this way. Jianyins is a very emotional person, and he also mentioned that day that he wanted Xiajin to be the flower the wedding day. He had thought about marrying that man. Jianyins is such a warm and kind person, why doesn't that man know how to cherish her? End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1524. Chapter 1524 Extra chapter of Xiafeng and his wife, 50. Jianyins is 11 Ju's white moonlight, the white moonlight that he wants to touch but can't get it again no matter how hard he tiptoes. The person he holds dear to his heart has his emotions trampled on by others. 11 Ju feels that he is about to die. 11 Ju held his chest and felt a little uncomfortable. 11 Ju walked to a deserted corner, sat down against the wall, picked up his phone, and started searching for news about Jianyins. Last week's news, Jianyins got drunk and talked on the phone late at night, and was suspected of having a relationship crisis with her boyfriend. News headlines from the past few days: Jianyins quits national musician, suspected to be caused by a relationship breakdown. Jianyins and her boyfriend have broken up. The release of Jianyin's new song is postponed. Jianyin's face was black the whole time backstage. Was he trying to be a celebrity or was he in a breakup mood? Jianyins was photographed getting drunk late at night again and has not traveled with her boyfriend for many days. Jianyins is being toyed with her feelings by a scumbag. There are various reports, true or false, mixed with the media's wild imagination. The headlines are all sensational, but when you click on them, you find that there is nothing substantive. Ziyu read some more detailed popular science posts and said that Jianyins and her boyfriend used to go to the movies every weekend. As a result, the two of them have not been photographed going to the movies together for a long time. He also said that Jianyins has been photographed smoking many times, but Jianyins will not smoke unless he encounters something particularly sad. Therefore, Jianyins and her boyfriend must have broken up, and Jianyins' temperament changed drastically. Various programs the show was on strike and the release of new songs was postponed. It was like a completely different person. 11 Ju took a deep breath. From this, Jianyins must have loved that man very much. It's just that 11 Ju didn't understand. When he saw it that day, Lee Dongyu's love for Jianyins almost overflowed from his eyes. He obviously loved Jianyins so deeply, why did he break up with him so quickly? Or is something irreversible happening between them? 11 Ju felt very heavy in his heart. He wanted to talk to Lee Dongyu and tell him that no matter what happened, please do not hurt Jianyins. If Jianyins did something wrong, please give him a chance to correct it, because he would never do it again. He couldn't bear the hurt anymore, his heart was already bruised, and the slightest disturbance was enough to kill him. 11 Ju suddenly felt a black shadow falling in front of his eyes. He raised his head and looked up. When he saw that familiar face, 11 Ju's pupils dilated and he blinked. After being stunned for a while, he slowly stood up and stared at the person. With, "Hello, do you have time, can we chat?" Lee Dongyu took off his mask, his voice had a slight vibrato, but it was still a mellow and moving voice, flowing through his heart like a warm current. Good. 11 Ju nodded, and then led Lee Dongyu into an empty box, which was 11 Ju's special seat. Ziyu was still in a trance at the moment. He thought he was hallucinating. Otherwise, how could he meet someone he was thinking about 1 second and suddenly appear in front of him the next second? So real, you can almost feel his unsteady breathing. Lee Dongyu sat down and took off his mask. You could vaguely see the green stubble around his lips, and his eyes looked very tired. It seemed that he had not had a good rest recently. However, when he looked up at 11 Ju, he still tried his best to smile as energetically as possible, but there was no way to hide the fear of exhaustion radiating from the inside out. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1525. Chapter 1525 Extra chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 51. Excuse me, do you have anything to do with me? 11 Ju handed him a cup of tea. He whispered thank you and sat down opposite 11 Ju. The two people spoke politely and looked at each other in silence. But at this moment, the hearts of both parties were in ups and downs. Lee Dongyu took a deep breath, and then spoke. It's a bit abrupt to visit suddenly, but I don't have your contact information, so I have to go directly to your store to find you. You don't have to be so polite. 11 Ju smiled lightly and looked at the man. Lee Dongyu's personality is consistent with his appearance. He is a very warm person, a person that people want to get close to and cannot bear to hurt. I think you should know the news on the internet about me and Jianyins. When Lee Dongyu said the 3 words Kenyans, there was an obvious vibrato in his voice. I don't know if he realized it, but 11 Ju could hear it clearly. Ziyu nodded. I just learned that I was busy with the store and never went to see these things. In fact, the moment Lee Dongyu appeared, 11 Ju had this idea in his mind. Could he have come to talk to him about Jianyins? Because apart from this reason, there was really no other possibility for the two of them to meet. Jianyins and I have broken up. Hearing these words from Lee Dongyu himself, 11 Ju couldn't explain how he felt at the moment. It could be said that he hadn't reacted yet and had no time to give an immediate reaction. He just looked at Lee Dongyu with a dull look on his face, and still maintained his attitude. The expression of the last second. Ziyu didn't know what response Lee Dongyu wanted to get from him, so he asked cautiously, "Why did you break up with him? Obviously we are in love visible to the naked eye, why did we break up?" Judging from the state of the two after they separated, it was obvious that both parties were injured, so why do they do this? Lee Dongyu showed a bitter smile. "I thought you could guess it?" Ziyu shook his head firmly. "I never would have guessed that Xiaojin's birthday party last time was the first time I saw you. At that time, I even thought you would really get married." Because 11 Ju clearly saw that when Qianyans asked Xiaojin to be the flower girl, Li Dongyu's eyes were shining. He was obviously looking forward to going to the end with him, but how long had passed, why did they separate? Li Dongyu also laughed when he thought about what happened that day. "I thought." "What happened?" Ziyu's face became heavy. "What happened that made you have to break up?" Li Dongyu stared at 11 Ju seriously. "Can't you still see it?" "What?" Ziyu became more and more confused as he talked. "Qianyans and I have known each other for 4 years. I was attracted to him the first time I saw him. Later, I didn't expect to become friends with him, let alone date him. At the beginning, I just wanted to. I asked for his phone number, and then I wanted to be friends with him, and then I thought it would be great if I could be with him. People are always so greedy. If only I had recognized my position and understood this from the beginning. Everything would not be what it is today. But at that time, I deceived myself into thinking that I could replace that person, the person who had been in his heart for so many years. But after that person appeared, I realized that I couldn't do it at all. From beginning to end, I have never forgotten you." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1526. Chapter 1526 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 52. Ziyu was shocked by Li Dongyu's words. He didn't know what to say in reply. He just waited for Li Dongyu to finish his story quietly. "When I first met Qianyans, I was a fan of his. His songs have accompanied me for many years. Later, we met by chance and he discovered that I could understand his music and what he really wanted to express behind his music. He was very excited and gradually became friends with me, often inviting me to listen to his new music. At that time, Qianyan's music had only one main theme, missing. He is missing someone he once loved deeply. I once boldly asked him if he had suffered any emotional injuries. He was surprised that I could understand him and also told me that he liked a man and tried his best to like him, but in the end it was all in vain. When Qianyans was writing songs to miss his relationship that ended in nothing, and the person in his heart, his songs became more and more popular with the public, and he became the well-deserved king of the music world. Qianyans said to me with a smile, should he thank that person, because he had so much good music? He said that he couldn't write songs at the beginning, and he would be laughed at by Liangye once he wrote songs, but then that person left. He suddenly felt that he had endless love songs to write. When Ziyu listened to Li Dongyu's narration, it was as if he had seen Qianyans at that time. Ziyu's eye circles gradually turned red, but he still endured it and remained calm. After Qianyans and I got together, I thought I could heal his emotional wounds and make him gradually forget about that person. We had a very happy time, just like all lovers, we were very happy and beautiful. And Qianyan stopped writing sad love songs after he got together with me. I thought he had forgotten about that person until one day, after not writing love songs for a long time, he suddenly started writing again. At that time, I realized that he had never forgotten it, he had just buried it deep in his heart. I could bear it, because I loved him enough, and I could bear that he still loved others, but as long as he loved me too. When you appeared, I was no longer in his eyes. His eyes lit up when he saw you, and he completely forgot about me. I think maybe I'm just your substitute. No, I'm not even a substitute. Maybe I'm just a way Qianyins used to try to forget you. Later he found out that this road was a dead end. After being unable to get through, he began to retreat. No, no matter how unreasonable Qianyins is, he will not make fun of feelings. Haven't you seen what he has become after you break up with him? Zihu asked rhetorically. How could he attribute this relationship to Qianyin's attempt? What about attempts that are like child's play? Obviously Qianyins also put his heart into it, so he was so sad when he lost her. Li Dongyu's eye circles began to turn red, and he calmed down for a while before speaking in a hoarse voice. When I broke up with him, he only said sorry, because he knew the reason why I broke up with him, and he didn't even think about trying to save me. Maybe he liked me, but he definitely never loved me. I was just a person he chose to try to forget you. Maybe part of the reason why he was so sad was because I left him. After all, I was him for so many years. His best friend, but this time he left him forever, but the biggest reason is still because of you, because he found that after working hard for so many years, he was defeated when he saw you for the first time. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1527. Chapter 1527 Extra chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 53. 11 Zhu opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but suddenly found that he didn't know what to say. At this moment, everything he said seemed to be wrong. Li Dongyu's words were so precise that 11 Zhu had no room for refutation. Have you talked about this since you broke up? Or have you been avoiding him? Li Dongyu smiled, with a desperate smile, and his eyes looked at 11 Zhu with a different flavor. He didn't need to say a word. I knew what he wanted to say with just one look. So, there is no need, Li Dongyu continued. I came to you today just because I hope you can return to Qianyins, because only he is truly happy when he is with you, and only you can give him what he really wants. I know you still like him, and I also know that you didn't get back together with him just because of me. It's okay now. He and I have broken up. You don't need to be stressed anymore. You and Qianyins can be together smoothly and properly. You don't need to feel guilty or anything. This is how relationships are, and no one is right. Who is wrong? It's just who came earlier than who else and who loves more than who else. Li Dongyu saw through all this and knew that it would be useless to stay any longer. He also knew that Qianyins and 11 Zhu would not be able to be together as long as he was around. Qianyins is obviously his boyfriend, but at this moment, he acts like a mistress. Because he loved Qianyins, he chose to let go. He was tired and he had no time to waste on someone who didn't love him. In the past 4 years, he has been living for others, and it is time for him to live for himself. No, the relationship between Qianyins and me is not as simple as you think. We can't go back. Zihu sighed and replied calmly. Unexpectedly, just these words made Li Dongyu, who had been very gentle just now, change his face. Can't you go back? These are just excuses. If you love each other enough, nothing can stop you. I only know that you still love each other now. You will be happy if you each take a step forward. If you don't want to, just give it to yourself. It's your own business to draw the ground as a prison. Li Dongyu took a deep breath and continued, Qianyins loves you more than you think, so I can assure you that as long as you move forward first, he will take the remaining steps one by one. I came to you today with only one purpose, which is to hope that you can think clearly and return to Qianyins. Zihu was silent for a long time without speaking. Until after sending Li Dongyu away, Zihu stayed alone in the box, cut off from all contact with the outside world, and quietly thought about what Lee Dongyu said to him. At night, 11 Ju returned home and looked at Weibo. Qianyins had posted a post on Weibo, and it was ranked number 1 on Weibo's hot search list. Just simple words: I broke up, the other party was very good, it was my fault, please give me some private space, thank you. There was no explanation or any explanation, but when facing the media, he needed his own space, instead of being photographed in large numbers and making random reports and speculations as soon as he went out. Qianyins felt very tired. He huddled alone in the huge room, looking at the starry sky outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, and his tears had dried up. He was the only one in this empty house, and he was the only one left. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1528. Chapter 1528 Extra chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 54. Qianyins couldn't understand why every time he took steps to start a new life, he ended up with nothing, everyone left him, and everything he cherished left him. Qianyins looked at the 2 drama tickets on the coffee table. They had been there for more than a week. He no longer had anyone around him who could share popcorn with him, avoid the media and paparazzi, and go to the comic shop with him to go to the second dimension. There are people in the exhibition hall. More than a week ago, Zihu bought 2 tickets for the play. Because he had been busy with the new album, Zihu had not been with Lee Dongyu for a long time. I remember that he liked to watch dramas, but because he was busy, he rarely had time to accompany him to watch them. Just as the matter of the new album was finished and just waiting for its release, Zihu bought 2 drama tickets and returned home happily. Tell Lee Dongyu that he wants to go to see his favorite Shakespeare play tour with him. But Lee Dongyu told him with a cold face, Qianyins, let's break up. Qianyins panicked and asked him why. You know why, I love you very much, you know. Qianyins understood instantly, but he didn't say anything to save it. He just sobbed and replied, I'm sorry. Lee Dongyu was truly desperate at that time, and said with red eyes, you know what I want to hear. But Qianyins never said those words to Lee Dongyu until the end. Later, Lee Dongyu left and never came back. Qianyins has been regretting it. He should have saved him that day. At least, he should have gone away easily. But he did nothing. He was so cruel to the person who had been with him for 4 years and spent the darkest 4 years with him. Qianyins hates himself and also hates 11 Ju. Qianyins had noticed Lee Dongyu's abnormality a long time ago, but he never asked. He didn't dare, and he didn't have the courage to face it. Because he knows what Lee Dongyu cares about. What he cares about is himself, whether he has never really liked him. Qianyins also asked himself more than once whether he liked Lee Dongyu, and he always told himself that he did. There are many things he likes about that person. He is warm, kind, considerate, and gentle. He understands him and his music so well. It seems that he and he are a match made in heaven. He appeared at the darkest time in his life and took him out of that darkness to the light now, but he gave him nothing. The media all said that he was deceived by a scumbag, but the real scumbag was actually himself. If 11 Ju hadn't appeared, Qianyins might have been able to lie to himself for the rest of his life. He let it go and fell in love with someone else. The one he liked was Lee Dongyu. But 11 Ju appeared, the man who plunged himself into darkness and reappeared not long after he came to start a new life. Even though Qianyins can deceive himself, Lee Dongyu cannot. He understands him so well. Qianyins stood up slowly and put away the wine bottles around him. Then he slowly walked towards the piano, where there was a half-written piece of music. Half a month ago, Lee Dongyu said to Qianyins, "Qianyins, can you write a song for me?" Qianyins agreed, saying that he would wait until Lee Dongyu's birthday next month to give him a song. But Lee Dongyu can't wait any longer. There are actually 6 updates today. He. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1529. Chapter 1529 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 55. Qianyins put his hands on the keys and began to play slowly. He promised that Li Dongyu would write a song for him, and he would definitely do it. Although he could no longer play it to Li Dongyu himself, he knew that Li Dongyu would definitely hear it, definitely. In the evening, Mu Niankai went to Xia Ying's house to pick up Dian Dian. When Mu Niankai came over, Dian Dian was staying in the laboratory with Xiajin. Xiajin and Dian Dian made an agreement that Xiajin would play with Barbie dolls for an hour, and Dian Dian would stay with Xiajin in the laboratory for an hour. Dian Dian felt bored at first, but after actually going to the laboratory with Xiajin, her young world seemed to have opened a new window, and she saw a different scenery. Moreover, Dian Dian is really curious about everything around her at this age. When she saw what Xiajin was doing, Dian Dian was extremely curious, but once Xiajin got serious, she couldn't speak, and Dian Dian didn't dare to ask, so she just stayed quiet aside. He looked at it, his big eyes moving around. When Mu Niankai picked up Dian Dian, Dian Dian still had a look of reluctance on her face, her little mouth pouted, and she pulled Xiajin's sleeve and said to Mu Niankai, "Mom, I can still talk to you tomorrow, brother Xiajin, do you want to play together?" Mu Niankai looked at Xiajin and Dian Dian in a funny way. "Your brother Xiajin is going up tomorrow. When you have time, Mom will bring you over to play with brother Xiajin, okay?" He nodded, then reluctantly said goodbye to Xiajin, and left with Mu Niankai. Yu Lingfeng touched Xiajin's head and asked the expressionless Xiajin, "How are you? How do you feel after spending a day with your sister?" Xiajin looked up at Yu Lingfeng, then lowered her eyes and said in a low voice, "It's not as bad as imagined." After saying that, Xiajin turned around and left with a cold face. Xia Ying held Yu Lingfeng's arm and looked back at Xiajin. "Look, let me tell you, your son is not that easy to change. Physical therapy is useless, you still have to find a way to use chemical methods to change him." Yu Lingfeng, however, disagreed and smiled. "Don't you understand your own son? Is Xiajin the kind of person who likes to show his emotions?" Xia Ying frowned. "What do you mean? Is it possible that Xiajin really changed in just one day?" "Not completely, but at least it has changed." Yu Lingfeng continued, "If there really were no changes at all, Xiajin wouldn't have said that just now." After Yu Lingfeng said this, Xia Ying thought about it carefully and realized that this was also the case. If you still hate it, or if there are no substantive changes, Xiajin will say it directly instead of saying it's not as bad as imagined. According to Xiajin's personality, this is okay or not bad. Xia Ying smiled, looking at it this way, Mu Niankai's evil plan has been half successful. Yu Lingfeng was puzzled, "What's the trick? Don't you see it?" Xia Ying smiled and said, "Mu Niankai has taken a liking to your son and wants to marry her into our family as our daughter-in-law." Yu Lingfeng curled his lips and said, "How old is Xiajin?" In Mu Niankai's words, this is called seizing the opportunity. Xiajin will definitely be very popular in the future, so she has to start from a baby. Yu Lingfeng's face darkened. Didn't I fulfill her wish? It also created opportunities for Xiajin and Dian Dian to get along. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1530. Chapter 1530 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 56. No, fortunately Xiajin is still young and doesn't understand anything. Yu Lingfeng continued and shrugged, "You women's minds are really unfathomable. How did he know that his son was being taken care of when he was only 5 years old? He was so mad. It shows that your son is very charming. Xia Ying said, what do you mean? Do you have any objections to me? What do you mean, you women are so unfathomable. Why did you Lingfeng kill a whole boatload of people with one pole? Really? Okay, okay, I didn't say anything. You'd better wash up and go to bed early. Yu Lingfeng started to digress, rubbed Xia Ying's shoulders, and pushed her to the bathroom. What, it's still early, West Ju hasn't come back yet. Isn't 11 Ju back? Yu Lingfeng's expression changed. Why do I remember that I saw someone else just now? Don't Zihu usually come back after 9 o'clock? Xia Ying asked back, and then looked at the clock on the wall. It was only 8 o'clock now. Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying were both stunned at the same time, but I definitely saw 11 Ju just now. Yu Lingfeng said, preparing to go to 11 Ju's room to find out. The door to Zihu's room was closed and the lights were on. Yu Lingfeng knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Xia Ying rushed over, patted Yu Lingfeng's shoulder, and asked in a low voice, why did 11 Ju come back so early today? Yu Lingfeng frowned, I'm afraid something happened. Yu Lingfeng vaguely remembered that when he saw 11 Ju coming back today, his expression was not quite right. And usually when 11 Ju came back, he would say he was back, but today it was silent. Xia Ying didn't even know that 11 Ju was back. Is back. And Yu Lingfeng only had a rough impression. You go to Xiajin's side and leave it to me in Zihu's place. Yu Lingfeng whispered to Xia Ying. Xia Ying nodded, and just as she turned around, something sounded like something happened again. She looked at Yu Lingfeng with a worried look on her face. Is it because of Qian Yin's? Qian Yin's, why? Yu Lingfeng didn't react for a moment. You didn't know in the institute during this period that Qian Yin's and Li Dongyu have broken up. I wonder if 11 Ju and Qian Yin's will. Before Xia Ying finished speaking, Yu Lingfeng quickly shook his head and objected, how could it be so fast? No matter how much 11 Ju liked Qian Yin's, the two of them would not get back together so quickly. It's probably something else, it's just Li Dongyu. Why did you break up with Qian Yin's? I don't know, there has been a lot of rumors outside, but only Qian Yin's and Li Dongyu know about this matter. Okay, I understand, I'll go in first. Yu Lingfeng said and walked in from the door. Xia Ying sighed, turned, and left. When Yu Lingfeng entered, 11 Ju was huddled in the corner, staring at the starry sky outside the balcony in a daze. Hearing Yu Lingfeng call his name, 11 Ju slowly turned his head and looked at Yu Lingfeng, showing a pale smile, Master, I'm fine. Explanation is to cover. Yu Lingfeng approached 11 Ju, his face softened a little, and then he asked, tell me, what is it that you have to keep in your heart alone? Nothing. Is it Qian Yin's? As soon as Yu Lingfeng mentioned the words Qian Yin's, 11 Ju immediately fell silent. Yu Lingfeng sighed helplessly, why is it this kid again? When I said I could make you forget this person, it was because you didn't want to. Are you remembering it just to make yourself unhappy? End of this chapter.